Hello and welcome to this Railway Domain Session 2, part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit here in Valencia 2024. Thank you for joining us today. My name is John Proctor and I will be your moderator. Details of today's session are on the screen. This is a session on the new Railway Domain Roadmap, a workshop. I will be passing shortly to Eivind Pagander and to Tiina Perttula from the infrastructure domain, who will be taking you through the session. Session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end, but I think it will be interactive given it's a workshop. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to Eivind, I'd like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. If you're online, please let us know if there are any issues with the sound, and we'll try and change the microphones in the room. Okay, so as I said, if there's any problems with the sound online, please do let us know and we'll try and amend that for you. Your microphones online will remain muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box and I will prompt you for that. For attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum. And if you wish to make a comment or a question, we will hopefully have that microphone working again by that point. Bless you. I'd like to bring to your attention the information that is coming up on the screen now to do with BSI's Code of Conduct. BSI is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider but are open, non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. With that, I'm going to pass to Eivind.
So, as IFC 4.3 projects, phase 3 just ended last fall, the railway domain has been so focused on the projects that making the new roadmap has been a priority. As we now enter a new phase, getting a new roadmap to have some guidance on where we want to go and be in like 3, 4, 5 years is of utmost importance. Otherwise, there, as Jim said, for the infra domain, in the infra domain session earlier today, there won't be any more railways. To start us off, I have gotten Tiina Perttula, the chair of the infra domain, to say a little bit of their process in developing the roadmap they have finalized last fall, so that we can have a little bit of that when we start today. But we will also do this, as John mentioned, as a workshop, so I will give you tasks and assignments that we'll do after the presentation. So the plan is for us to have hopefully a lot of feedback from those in presence in the room and also those available that are online, following us online, so that we can get that back to when we start inside the domain steering committee to actually start developing the roadmap. Tiina, floor is yours.
Thank you, Eivind, and good afternoon. I'm here to give some insight how we create the update for the roadmap, which we are having today, and the process, how it went, and kind of what all different type of models include to the work. So I hope that you get some insights for your workshop sessions later inside this session. So next slide, please. So shortly, we go through the activity screens going forward, then these local chapter workshops that we organized, then the consolidation of the outcomes and how we group them into different activity streams. Then we actually did, it was infra room back then, nowadays it's domain, but we did do the steering committee review because we recognized that some of the activities didn't came up in the workshops, but we thought as a steering committee that they are very important for us as a community to highlight it anyway. And then a little bit about the next steps, that because roadmap is published last autumn, that what are the actual actions to make the roadmap live, because if we don't get the roadmap activities kind of on a pipeline, then it's just a roadmap, but nothing happens under the roadmap. So this presentation describes a little bit the process that we were following, the ideas and issues that came out of the chapter roadmap workshops, which we call the local chapter workshops, and also how we proceed that information leading to the next step, so the actual roadmap. So this was the kind of the blank canvas that we had in the beginning. We have had the roadmap in the infra domain quite long now, so we did have these activity streams already defined in the previous roadmap. So this was actually the exercise where we update the current roadmap with the kind of input from the industry. So there was 8 of these streamlines together, which has been recognized that are important in the infra domain roadmap. And I guess that some of these might be important for you as well when you are starting to create your own roadmap. Then what was the infra domain steering committee role of all of these activities? First, we decided that we need to have a small team that consists 3 members of the steering committee. So Jim Bloom, Jürgen Litz, and Anna Niederström were members of that team. And they did have the regular meetings, and they give the update for the rest of the steering committee during the work, what they have kind of done with the smaller group. And then we as a steering committee, we provide them comments on how to move further. And then we were supporting also as a steering committee the local chapters, because we held 7 different local chapter workshops in different part of the world. So we offered them 1 steering committee member to support those local chapter, but we didn't say that we are going to be in the lead of those local chapter workshops. We really wanted the local chapter to be engaged and were responsible of taking the share of those workshops, and we wanted to have those local chapter works held with the local language. So not only in English, because we think that it was not always understandable for the kind of the members outside the BSI community to understand all of these acronyms and all of these kind of maybe difficult terminology. So it was very important for us that it was possible to help these local chapter workshops in the kind of the local language. And then as a steering committee, we also create the kind of the data sets or the different templates that can be used when the local chapter were having these workshops. Of course, they needed to translate those, so we provided those in English, but we have the agenda. We did have the kind of the Miro board that how you can run the workshop itself. Then we have the instructions for the workshop session itself. And then we have the introduction slide set also for this IFC 4.3 extension that were same for each local chapter workshop. And that was in order to make sure that the input that we got from the local chapter is somehow same type of or it's coming back to us as a steering committee in same type of format, that we are kind of categorizing different activities, because otherwise it could be whatever, and then there would be a whole amount of extra work when trying to categorize those different type of inputs. So here are the local chapters that was run through different local chapters, and that was supported by the steering committee member. We also did kind of gather the information through very different many ways. So kind of the local chapter representative, together with a steering committee member that was supporting that local chapter, they were responsible of kind of collect the information from the workshop in the way that we could handle it later in the with the infra steering committee members, because of course it needed to be translated again back to the English, and then maybe some terms would be difficult to translate, so that's why the support from the steering committee member was needed. So this was kind of huge work for the steering committee, but I think that we divided the responsibility quite nicely between the different participants. So it wasn't kind of very heavy work to only one person. So many of us involved to the work. And then, for example, this is as an example, but we collect these key points from the different local workshops, and there were many of these workshops, and then we kind of extract that to different categories. And then I show you the activity streams. So some of these activities that came through these local chapter workshops fits nicely to those categories, and some we needed to cut down a little bit smaller, maybe tasks or action points, because they might be that they were so huge that it was kind of the action itself for the next 5 years. So it was really hard to prioritize that type of activity, because kind of we need to cut it down a little bit smaller pieces. Then we also take advantage of the summits. So we did have during the summits also kind of this voting, that how these infra-domain members see that this should be prioritized, that what should be the one that we start first. So even though if we gather the input for these different activities through the local chapter workshop, but we recognize also that it's not possible to organize this type of workshop on each of the local chapter. So then this was the one way of collecting information from the other chapters that was not involved through the local chapter workshop. So kind of give the possibility to every infra domain member and actually BSI to have input for different prioritizations and different activities. So we did collect the information in very many different ways. And then we ended up kind of collecting these things. So first, of course, some of these ideas came through the local chapter workshop. The yellow ones were kind of more infra specific. And then there was some red ones that we see that are maybe cross domains that we recognized. Oh, does it? Now it works again. But then also we recognized the blue ones that came through the steering committee review, that these were the maybe the action points that was not coming through the chapter work, that was not coming through these sessions during the summits. But we wanted to add those as a steering committee, because we understand that these things need to be in our roadmap as well. And then we continue the work a little bit further, to cut down some of these activities a bit smaller pieces, that what we recognize that are maybe too big to handle as a ones. So actually all these topics that what we got came quite nicely hits each of these streams. So the streams were quite bright ones already, like 7 years ago when we created the infra-domain roadmap as a first time. We have published the roadmap, so it's kind of the report type of roadmap. I'm not sure that how many of you have read the roadmap or know what's inside it, because I recommend you to start maybe to reviewing it, because the first part of the roadmap describes nicely the process that was used, that I'm just explaining here, and the second part of the roadmap describes the outcome and then the possible future working groups initiatives, and also kind of what
what should be the content of those possible future working groups. Because actually in the infra domain, I think that we are a little bit same situation where you are now as a railway domain, that we have only like one active project at the moment. This was the situation like 10 years ago, that we had only the working groups, and then we did a lot of pre-work in those working groups in order to make it possible to have the projects. And now we are in the same situation, that we need to have these working groups and see that what are the future projects related to infrastructure elements. Then some of these working groups for roadmap activities and how we engage the domain members, because it was quite obvious that we as a steering committee, we cannot be responsible of each of these actions. So we started with mid-October. We had the 2 industry forums, one in the European time zone and one in the US time zone, just to seek input from the industry that if there is enough interested, maybe members, participants, for some of these topics, then we have enough people actually to establish the working group, because otherwise it's just the idea, but if no one is interested and want to work, these are pro bono, so it's not like we have any project or any funding at this phase, but just that we need to have some type of maybe it could be the white paper that these working groups are proceeded, or then it could be the activity proposal, the outcome of the working groups. Okay,
Now it's working. Good. I then moved back here where I was originally. Yes. And setting of these 15 activities got enough people, so it was possible to establish actually a real working group. And the next question in here will be kind of the first steps. So the working group that has started to work, they are presenting the work and the ideas that they have now, that how they will proceed in the future. And then we recognize also that we need to find the person to each activity, the one who is the responsible one, kind of the chair of that specific working group, because we as a steering committee, infra steering committee, we cannot be responsible for each of these activities. But we also recognize that it's very hard to establish a working group and be the responsible one if we don't have any type of kick-off meeting in advance. So then we decide that a few of these working groups is now the first kick-off meeting is run by the steering committee member in order to get everything worked. But our aim is to try to find the responsible one among those people who have raised their hand and said that they are interested in to be part of the working group. And then the next thing is, of course, that we need to figure out, we do have a project steering committee inside the infra domain. Maybe we need to have some working group type of steering committee to make sure that these working groups has at least some possibility to this knowledge sharing between different working groups. But this is in our radar, and we need to figure out that how we want to organize that in the future. Next slide, please. So here are all of these activities that was recognized, the 15 together. And the yellow one are highlighted that got enough interested participants that we were able to establish a working group. But actually, 4 of them are now prioritized in this first, first as a pilot project, because we also recognize that we cannot start everything at the same time. So we just tested now with the 4 of the project that how this idea could go further with these volunteers. And the next one. And then also as a steering committee, we identified that some of these work as a pilot. Then one working group is actually the kind of that it links to the activity proposal there is already existing in BSI. And this is actually something that could be, of course, interesting for railway domain as well, because if the operation and maintenance phase is in your radar as well, then maybe this asset operation handover could be project for you also to look closer. And then we identify also the working groups that are or might be cross domains and that has already some activities in BSI. And then we need to figure out that how we as an infra-domain should participate to these activities. Because of course, BSDD for infrastructure, it's a question for everybody, it's an obvious one. Then it's digital twin teams, and then the IDS, and then it's the carbon emission. And actually in our first session as an infra-domain, then it needs to also mention this sustainability team, that there is a group working with the topic already, and now we need to figure out how we want to contribute to those working groups. And as you see, if you take John, one slide back.
One slide back.
Yes. So actually, if you look at closely the topics, the name of the topics, they are quite obvious one, and we spent 2 years together this throughout our community, and we could have figured this out by ourselves as a steering committee for 2 weeks, but it was very, very important that we engaged everybody to join to this work, because now we have give the kind of the industry the possibility to influence that what they see are kind of important for them. And I guess that maybe when you start to do the roadmap work in railway domain, you might end up maybe some of the same conclusions as we did, that these are the important topics for the railway domain as well. And I guess now we can take one slide further. Again, that this one, kind of identify some of the groups that might be cross-domain, and I think that these first two could be cross-domain as well. Tomorrow there is the IC and geospatial workshop in the morning, so if you don't have anything in the morning sessions, maybe you would like to join to that one. And then the IC for infrastructure user guide, I think that you are aiming for the same, so it's not only for the elements that are, or maybe in this case it's the elements that are done under the infra domain, but of course the railway domain is a crucial part of the IC 4.3 as well. So then the last slide. Thanks. So the last session for today, I just wanted to put a teaser here, is actually how we make these different working groups alive. So we have now started with 4 different working groups. Asset operation handover, it's kind of the working group that has already almost finalized the work. So it has been running for a while, and it was the initiatives firstly coming through building domain actually, and we have been contributed to that working group as the infra domain. But then the next 3 are the kind of working groups that has just started, and we are seeking for members to join to these working groups, and they are run by these persons, at least they are responsible one for the kickoff meeting, and then we are seeking that if someone from the group could take the responsibility inside the working group. But I hope that this gives you at least some insight what was the process in the infra domain when we collected all this input from the industry, and maybe help you a little bit further when you start to think about how you want to organize the roadmap work under the railway domain. So thank you.
Thank you, Tiina. So, Eivind, how do you want to run the rest of the session?
First, I have a question. If you're going to do this one more time, what will you change?
Well, I think the world is now a bit different, because we did this when there was a lockdown, and we have a mini workshop as a virtual workshop. So maybe we could have more live workshop during the summits, for example. It wasn't possible back then, of course, in obvious reason. But I definitely would try to engage people, maybe do some pre-survey in advance, maybe already highlighted some of the topics that you might have recognized, and collect the input that if these are the right ones. So you could do some type of pre-work in advance. We wanted to start with an empty canvas and just collect the input from the industry. But as you see, kind of those topics are quite easily recognized, at least some of them. And then you can ask that, okay, we have, as a steering committee or as a railway domain, we have recognized already these topics. Are they something else besides these topics we have recognized that needs to take into the consideration?
Thank you. You have a question behind there?
I just want to know what happens. So my name is Marcus from the Spanish Railway Infrastructure Manager. I want to know what happens to all the knowledge in IFC Rail, all that work that you have done, and how to connect with this initiative now.
These initiatives are all open to connect, so the next session actually under the infra domain is kind of the introduction kind of these workshops that has just started, so the work is like now done only for 2 months, and then it's up to the working groups to decide actually what is the end deliverable from the working group work. It could be that it's just a white paper that they are in, or it could be that it's a technical report. It could be, for example, maybe some use cases that into the use case management system. So it's up to now to the working groups to decide that what are the next steps, and those working groups are open for everybody. So if you feel that you want to contribute to some of the working groups, you are very much welcome.
I would say for the same, when we have a railway domain, the railway as well, I would encourage everybody that's part of the railway domain. So the railway domain is not the steering committee. It's everyone who's participating in buildingSMART. The steering committee is just leading the domain. So if you want to be involved with the working group, with project, with activities, inside the railway domain, infra domain, building domain, feel free to reach out, because I think it's very important that in the end the steering committee can't do everything. Then they will burn out, and then you have to replace them, and probably more often than you want to. So I think that's very, very important. That was the short introduction. Now we're going to switch over to the workshop part, where actually you will be helping us as the steering committee. So to make it a little quick start, I think we should go down in groups of 3 to 4 people. 5 minutes, just scribble down suggested topics that you see that are important for the railway domain to bring up. Already this morning, Nick suggested sustainability, just like you did with the infra domain in the last session for the infra domain. So that's a suggestion as well. BIM geospatial, we are allowed to call it BIM GIS anymore, supposedly. That has been suggested as well. Asset operations handover, there's a lot of suggestion already from what Tiina presented to us that will also be relevant for the railway. And we might, when we are done with our roadmap and look at what the infra domain has done, we might see that there's a lot of things we can work together on, even if it's just a small working group with no project or activity proposal. So if you go down, let's say my watch is saying is roughly 5 past. So if you start with just 5 minutes, scribble down until 5 to 10 minutes. So we start at no later than 1/4 past, and then we will have the opportunity to share with everyone afterwards. So just group up in 3 or 4 people. I think that would be a good suggestion. And for those online, I know it's hard when we have a workshop as well, but please write in the chat box. And John will read them up afterwards, and we will take note and everything, and we will bring everything we've done. We will take back into the steering committee. And as Tiina said, they had a little roadmap coordination group that was responsible for putting everything together. And And also, like the workshop they had in the chapters, feel free to suggest things like that as well, and we can do that as well, my guess.
So Eivind, just to be clear, you're asking people to split into groups of 3 or 4 people and do some brainstorming on the topics that should be and could be in the railway domain roadmap?
Absolutely.
So you're looking for topics and ideas from the groups?
Yeah. And don't feel yourself boxed in. I want to be creating, and then when we start looking at everything, that's when we have to close the box around it.
Okay.
So thank you for now, and I'll probably be back up here around 2:15.
Okay. Thanks very much. So time to collaborate with the people sitting near you or next to you. So please split into groups, and if you could write down some ideas, some thoughts, some railway domain topics that could be and should be in the railway domain roadmap, that would be great. Thank you. Does it work? Just try. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So I'll let this discussion go a little bit further because you're all very, very active trying to find topics and everything. So John will try to take some notes from us. Do you have anything from the chat, John?
We don't actually, Eivind.
We don't?
No, we don't.
Okay, somebody who wants to start. Or do I just need to give the mic to somebody? Microphone to someone. Okay, if nobody wants, I'll just give it to Winfred then. Or who is talking for you?
We have a stop. Maybe introduce not the cheese.
Okay, we did write down some topics here. Okay, I think first topic will be quite similar to what Infradomain has presented, which is the geospatial topic, related topics, so the connection between BIM and GIS. There are quite a lot of use cases there that, I think as one topic that we need to tackle. And then the second is about education and training. Because indeed we developed the standard, but in order to let all the domain experts be able to use this standard, we require domain experts to have knowledge for this standard. And the third topic we have written down is the BIM for maintenance. So yeah, because we are all like infrastructure managers, the maintenance actually are even much more than the design project, right? So BIM maintenance is BIM for maintenance is the third topic. And the fourth one we wrote down is I see railway model validation. So this is something that, this is actually some experience from IC Railway Phase 3, because we clearly see a gap between the BSI validation service and what IDS can do. So there will be some rules which are specifically for railway, common for railway models, but not common for general IC models. So the IC railway model validation. And the fifth is about link with functional objects for operational model or for simulation, because IC is mostly about physical objects. So we need to think about how we can link with functional objects, for example, for in-blocking systems, operational management, or for simulation. And the last thing that we shouldn't forget is the further extension and maintenance of the standard. So, for the two phases, we have 4 domains developed. We also have shared and common domain for alignment and spatial structure. But there will be some other topics. For example, maybe we didn't do sufficient things for a platform, for example. And also maintenance of the standard. Of course, there will be maybe some feedback or change requests in the future. Okay.
Yes.
Actually, there are clear issues for the maintenance. It's been for maintenance of the rail standards, also maintenance of the data. How can we reuse the data from the design phase to the maintenance phase without really create a model or scheme in the design phase?
Yeah.
So it's a third maintenance issues. Good.
Stefan. Thank you, G. And yes, I think a lot of what you're saying here is absolutely relevant. I think a lot of them is something we have to take with us. The problem in the end, when we are finishing here, we probably have somewhere between 15 and 30 topics, is to actually find out which are the most important the first year or two, and then focus what can we do the next couple of years after that as well. And when you say functional objects, one thing I think about immediately is cooperation and with the RAIL organization, which is developing topological standards that we would benefit of having a mapping or towards, instead of implementing maybe functional locations and functional objects inside the IFC standard. So yes, absolutely. And it might be help everyone later, especially in Europe, where RAIL is defined as route planning already as a standard for route planning. So at the end, Julia, who wants to start from your group?
Just take the opportunity to say that right system model can be a good thing, and the mapping between right system model and building is an interesting factor, very special for ourselves. I think Julia is better than me to sum up what we discussed. It is to, we love the idea of user guides. That was the first thing in the list of the infra. And yeah, it could go with 2 and 6, and it is together with 26. User guide, and also some message at the strategic level of our organization, because we are last year the operational way to have been open bin and impact implemented in our project, but it is very important also that the message is conveyed to the management of our organization. And the second one was to map the exchange information requirements with the capability to use IDS, for example, in machine readable format. And that's something that we can only achieve all together. So that we discuss a lot of these two topics. That's why we left the other topics from the other groups.
I didn't necessarily catch the second topic you mentioned, but I guess it's already out there. So jump there and catch it.
Is that right? Map information exchange requirements? Yeah. Okay.
And yes, I think and you should probably just add VSDD as a point number 9 there as well, because it would be much easier for us to make an IDS if you have the VSDD already in place for example, stations, as an example. Susan, or we're just going around to everybody. So I don't know who's talking from you.
We were focused on those last topics that we already have there about IDS for infra, for different domains, and of course the use of VSDD, especially for railway. That is my topic. And finally, establish some common criteria for the measurement of carbon emission. So I don't know who's next.
For measurement of what?
Of carbon emissions.
Carbon emissions, yeah.
I think we mentioned that earlier today.
Yeah.
Carbon emission is, and especially here in Europe with regulations and directives from the European Commission, it's something we have to do, and with the digital passports coming, all the products will have the information, and we should be ready when that happens. Dr. Wang, another thing.
Thank you. So, in our opinion, we still think there's some topics about, the first is about the promotion of use of IFC. So, we think it's very important to push every governments and every countries to add the IFC in their railway. And another one is the IFC extension, because we still think there's something unique in IFC stand-up, IFC open street, like the station, and some like station, yeah. So, and the third one is the guideline of IFC using, we saw it should be, yes. Yes. And another one is the cost efficiency of railway. They are using the IFC and other open standard. And also the carbon emissions, and the last one is the standard related to ISO and RIC. Okay, and one more is about the digital twin of the constructed for railway. Yeah, I think the question is about the UIC and ISO.
UIC.
UIC,
Yeah. So not IFC, but UIC.
UIC, yeah.
UIC.
Yeah. That's it.
What is UIC?
It's international.
Yeah, it's
Is it? Thank you. I know many acronyms, but not that one.
And about the cost efficiency and carbon emissions.
Yep. I think we got carbon emissions there. We happy with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Did I understand you said digital twin and not differences? Yeah, so not differences for construction.
Oh, right.
Digital twin.
Sorry.
It was digital twin, wasn't it? Yes. So, yeah, do you also want to say something? No, okay. So, Joachim Candy, who will start for you?
I can do that. Most of our topics are already done, so there's no more space on this.
Yeah.
Oh, we have
more slides also. I will take short. We've got the integration of the use case management as well as the BSD, and the further development of IFC 4.3. We thought IFC 4.3 is great, but not perfect at all. So we're looking what is missing in IFC 4.3 and what needs to be completed. And the other points are right now the slide. So we don't have much to add.
You had 2 points.
Product development and the integration of the use case management.
Integration of use case management.
Yeah. Maybe we can put it into bullet point 9, the use of the USDD and.
I think we will just fix it afterwards.
Okay.
No worries.
So that's it.
Thank you very much, everybody. Now, a question for you. If you had to rank 3 of this as the most important one, who do you think, from your perspective, which 3 of these would you say that the railway domain should start with? I would say probably no, instead of just waiting till the roadmap is done, because there is no problem for us to start doing some activities without having the roadmap done. But let's have 5 minutes, discuss a little bit in groups, and then just say, if you want to say, if there's one or two topics that you see that this is something I would prioritize, because if we can get that now, it makes us able to start some activities now. And it also gets me to see faces I can pinpoint, hey, can you help out in a working group? I think that's also a little bit important, so that we just do that for 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes, just think a little bit about it, and we'll go around again afterwards. I think that's just for us to have a little bit point when we get back from the summit, but we'll start working on it. And also, if you have suggestions if you want to have a workshop in your chapter, think about that as well.
So, Eivind, you're asking people to pick their top 3 from the list? Top 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In order, first, second, third, or just
No,
top 3?
Doesn't matter. Just pick 3 of them that I think is most important right now that we should start.
Okay. Thank you.
At least that are very clear we should start with, and have as a short-term goal for the roadmap as well.
Yeah. No, good idea.
And then it's much easier for us to start finishing the roadmap.
Yeah, no,
And we can start with activities.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I know already the station we have to start.
Yeah.
Because here we already have more or less have an activity goals.
Further for the station.
Yeah, but just let but I guess that's the one we will start anyway.
Yeah.
But it's very important to hear because we can have a lot of topics. And
Yeah.
we have 17 here already. And when we start doing workshops and things, we have already 17 topics that we can use as a guideline. People can use. We have a suggestion here already.
Yeah.
And I think that's also
something
that's
It makes sense. Only the problem is, in the problem is that before we arrive to make an maybe see that the construction of railways is more section. You know, we arrive to the maintenance line, and I think so I would say if I have to study for the chapter, I will hear about
Please do that. We should have a consensus. We should have a consensus. Probably think a lot. Probably because you already came up with 5, 6. So you already something in your mind that might be the thing you want to do. So just discussion though. The broader we get back in April.
plus 43. Where's that?
Where are you going?
No, plus 43. What's the country code for plus 43? It's Winford.
Oh, is it? Sorry. Yeah, I didn't know.
Have you saved this to the box?
I've saved it. I'll have to move it to box. I've got it finished, but I've got it saved.
Yeah.
I think it's on this computer.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. I was just curious because more event because I can just plug it into the regular mix.
Yeah.
Boxes parts we have that accessible everywhere. I'm sorry to disturb you in a very, very good discussion. Okay, everyone, I think we'll just go through here now, and I think we'll just start with you again. We go all the way around now.
Okay, we have 3 points. Point number 1 is film and GIS.
Number 1.
Number 1, yes. Then the next one is number 12 and number 15. Yeah.
For us, because I think that because I mentioned that the IC responsiveness is also the development of IC. So this thing must be just specific our requirements, and so that would be our first choice.
Carbon emissions. Yeah.
Number 12.
Number 12. Okay. Yeah.
And the first one, the BIM and GIS.
Yeah. Okay.
And and the cost efficiency.
The cost one. 30. Yeah. Thank you.
And we have to see that the 16 is also because I think that it's the same as the cloud.
Yeah.
Yes. This should be same. So in our opinion, I think the first one, the tile and the 16 they should be in one topic because they are all mentioned about the IFC development. Maybe they give some certification or other maybe the cross domain, but they also belong to the development of accessible industry. Yeah, yeah.
True.
I think when it comes to consolidating and looking at the topics, I think that's something that the steering committee will do when we start working on it. So we might see that the developmental station is a subtopic to the first development of IFC for here. So you might do something like that as well. But yeah, I agree. They're absolutely intertwined there. Yes, absolutely.
So for us, the one is GIS, number 1. And the second, number 4, railway model validation. And finally, number 7.
Thank you.
So we're thinking together as a team that we have this number and we need to train people. So I would say number 2 and 7 for us are basically the same thing, and it's a priority. Then we were thinking exchange requirements, try to put some basics there to implement IDS and things to put in tenders, right? And then I have a question actually. When we talk about digital twin for construction of railways, are we talking about using BIM models to help the construction phase, or actually developing an ecosystem with sensors and stuff. We're talking about the first thing, right?
I think so.
I hope so, because in that case, it's a very early, it's too complicated.
So you were going for number.
I understood 1.7, I know I can't see it, 8, and also maybe the digital twin.
And the digital twin, yeah.
We're talking about
If, for construction, and inside Pagander, we actually defined that instead of digital twin, we defined that digital construction sites. And when it comes to digital twin, we're defining it like you mentioned with sensors and everything. Yeah. So I think you're also talking about, that's how I understood it from that one. I'm talking about the digital twin for the construction sites and the use of using a model for construction. That was correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah, but we just put one. Yeah, so we just put it down. So I would probably say yes, user guides and education training. It's too yeah. And I think that's also important. There's a lot of things there, like we said, with IFC 4.3 for station and the further development of 4.3 is the same, and we're actually not necessarily talking about the further development of IFC 4.3, we're talking about the further development of IFC or the way we're doing. And that's why I also say, you know, it just got everything. This was a great story. It got a lot done here. I haven't forgotten you up there. So we got a lot done here. And what we see now here is there are topics that are very clear there. For those in the room here, these are the topics you want to be involved with now. You want us to start with now. I think that's also important to remember that we have something that will start with now instead of waiting for a roadmap to be done, which might take a year. And if we're not going to do something in a year, we can't now start with, we already cheating on it, starting tomorrow with the stations. We might have started this morning with the training. So, and there's a lot of user guides there, like user guides, the info are already started on this. We can talk to Tiina, Jim, Alexa, and us, which user guides are you working on now? Because if that's the user guide for geotechnics, we should be involved. It's already there. Why should we start another working group? We should just join the massive joint working group.
So what did we vote? So, whose point? No, I think I said two, the education stuff, because it's very important to bring our work to the people. So that's, I think, the point, before we invent something new. The next one was 5, I think. The functional models there, and what was next? 16? Was it 16? Yes, the further development. Yeah, it's a little the same as we thought while describing maintenance of the rail standard data. Yeah. Thank you.
And I think just by looking at the development of the IFC rail domain, we will automatically go into the maintenance of the standards. Yeah. Because no matter what, as soon as we start looking into it, we will find 1 or 2 missing entities. We might find a property or 2 missing, or we suddenly realize, oh, this entity has another function, but the property set is missing. And that's things we can do. And for us, for me as a co-chair of the Railway Domestic Committee, and also for the steering committee, having this, when we go back in our next meeting, SC meeting in April, we already have something for us to focus on while we develop the roadmap as well. We have something that we can start doing working groups with, we can start doing activities with. We don't have to wait. The infra domain, as I said, they had the roadmap, they revised the roadmap more or less meaning they could do that while they're developing. They did that while they're developing the IC infra for 4.3 roads and waterways. So they had the requirements almost as the standard was published. So they had it, we didn't. And if we're not doing any activity now, we will dwindle down to nothing within a year. So I think it's important for us to start. Those of you who are interested in the BIM-GIS or geospatial, as Mark said earlier today, just reach out to Mark Owen in the infra domain already. Reach out to me, reach out to Jack on the board, reached out to me 10 minutes before we started this session about this topic and want to have us involved as well. Sustainability, Nick reached out and wants us to have it on, so those two topics will be on the roadmap. Just how possible we'll start with them. And I think also sharing from what's done in the organization already. In Norway, for example, we are already using models and for building today. We have projects that use just models on the building today. And I wish I was a little bit farther ahead when it comes to maintenance, because in roughly 2 months' time, we will deliver the first cloud-based projects over to operations and maintenance. So, yeah, all of these topics is as important for us back home as it is for most of you as well. So, thank you all for a wonderful workshop. Thank you for all the input we got. I know the railway domain certainly has a lot of work to do. My guess is we will do some chapter workshops as well to get more input. We'll probably put out topics here for surveys. We'll want to get more feedbacks as well. We just have to organize a little group that's in charge of it as well. So this is a call for all of my colleagues inside the steering committee. Can you please think about it until April if you want to be in a group that's in charge of helping develop things. That would be wonderful. And for everybody else who's not part of the steering committee, please reach out to us. And if you're chapter, we're welcome to just come and present what we do in the steering committee, and also coming to have a chapter workshop for the event. Reach out to me. I'm not sure if my email is on the buildingSMART webpage, but if not, railway@buildingSMART.org will get you to the railway domain. And from that one, you can at least reach us. John, I will leave the last words for you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Eivind. Thanks to Eivind and Tiina for hosting today's railway domain workshop. Thanks to everyone for taking part. And thanks for everyone online who joined us. This session is finishing now. There'll be refreshments downstairs, and the final domain session in this room today will be at 3:30, which is infrastructure domain, and further information on the roadmap working groups that you may have heard Tiina and Jim and others talk about earlier. Thank you. See you later.